We're into the back line on the player power rankings. With every day that goes by and with every video that I post with these top 10 rankings of each position in the world based on current and recent form, historic form and a bit of gut feeling as well, gets us one day closer. And it's almost like an advent calendar at Christmas, counting it down. We're up to number 9, which means we're getting into the back line. When we get to 15, it'll be the day before 15-a-side rugby is back and we can watch the Rugby Championship. So happy to be counting down, filling this little rugby-free void with these videos. If you appreciate the content, then I would really appreciate you giving the video a thumbs up to help me spread the word. Give me your thoughts down below. I mean, tell me what you think, but it also boosts the algorithm. Don't ask me how, but it does. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Yeah, let's get into the scrum halves then. Interesting category, this one. There's a bunch of players going up positions. There's a couple going down. There's 2 players staying exactly where they are. And we do have new faces on this. Of course, there's no Aaron Smith on this list anymore. But there are other players entering and leaving the top 10. One of the first new faces is Craig Casey. A breakout game for him in that first test against South Africa. I mean, he was injured and then couldn't play any further part in that series. But in that, whatever it was, 50 minutes. And yes, Ireland lost the match. But in that 50 minutes, there were, you know, and I was there at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria, hostile atmosphere, brutal performance by that South African pack. And Craig Casey having to kind of clean up, not great ball, and he did a brilliant job. And that should give Ireland fans a lot of confidence in this guy, who generally, he tends to get the game against Italy in the Six Nations, and then 20 minutes at the end of a match. I think you can have a lot more confidence, and I think Ireland fans do now have a lot more confidence in this guy to take the mantle on from Jameson Gibson Park eventually, but be a very, very able deputy for him in the meantime. Really, really good year for Craig Casey. Number 9, Baptiste Saran. I mean, France's scrum half options are frankly ridiculous. So Nolan Le Garrec, still too early for him. He's only had a couple of French caps, so I can't really pick him at the moment. But he'll be entering this list soon, you'd feel. You've got Baptiste Quilloux, who's an awesome player. I mean, there might be another Frenchman or 2 on this list. We'll wait and see. But Baptiste Saran is so good. He's amazing. If he were most other nationalities, he would walk into their national team at scrum half. Not an exaggeration. He's amazing. He's been brilliant for Toulon. He's been great when he's had the job at France. He was so unlucky to be injured just before the World Cup. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have been in the French squad and probably would have been the deputy for a certain Antoine Dupont. We don't know about that, but we'll never know. But he's great, and he's worth his spot at number 9. Ben White, who is Baptiste Saran's Toulon teammate. Ben White, who, it's a strange one, that the scrum half position for Scotland was kind of chopping and changing a lot for the last couple of years. No one was ever really pinning it down, but Ben White, it's his jersey now. He's been ace. And yeah, I think he has developed a bit and got a bit more confidence from his time playing in France at Toulon. Now, he's kind of shares the scrum half duties with Baptiste Saran. Really, if you had to say, Ben White might just be a slight tier down from Baptiste Saran at club level for Toulon, but he's played much more international rugby of late, which is why he's one position above him on this list. Your thoughts, if you disagree? And, well, the guy that Baptiste Saran is chasing down for that backup job in the French squad is Maxime Loucou, who he's a great player, excuse me. He's just not Dupont. And that's the yardstick that he's measured against. Bordeaux are absolutely brilliant as a club. They're just not Toulouse, the yardstick that they're being measured against. So there is an argument that Maxime Loucou, just on pure talent, should actually be higher on this list. But there you go. He's the backup for the most part. Played a lot more rugby this year, but France didn't come through and win the Six Nations with Maxime Loucou guiding the team. And anyway, he's at 7. Alex Mitchell, another positive England story. See, you can see how the situation changes. When I go through this player power ranking, you start to build little trends and narratives, and England's front row options are dire. They're really not good. There was hardly anyone in the front row for England, and that's a massive problem. For a while now, scrum half has been a bit of an issue for England, but Alex Mitchell's changing that, and look at him. He's number 6 on my list. If you're not English, what do you think of Alex Mitchell? Because I think this is a guy that has real elite potential, and he seems to put tempo on the game, and in a way that scrum halves from other countries have been doing to England for a long time. He's 27 years of age now, so coming into his prime. He's won the Premiership with Northampton Saints, and he is owning the England 9 jersey, and he's getting himself very close to getting on a British and Irish Lions tour if he carries on. Faf de Klerk at number 5. Now, this selection with Faf at Clive, who at 5, is down a position, but he's got credit in the bank. A lot of credit in the bank. He did he play 80 minutes in a World Cup final? I think he did, didn't he? Played the whole match. And if you played 80 minutes in a World Cup final, you've got to be quite good. But I do sense some dissatisfaction with Faf in the 9 jersey. The speed of his game, has it just dipped off a little bit? Is he a massive defensive 9? He's amazing in defence. I live in Manchester and I saw him play at Sale Sharks all the time, and he would just level people twice his size. He's amazing defensively. But now that South Africa are trying to evolve the way they play, do they need to evolve the man who's wearing the 9 jersey? That is one to watch. Also, I guess his age is another factor. 32 years of age, especially when you consider that the guy I've got at number 4, who just swaps places with him, Kobus Reinach, is 34. 2 years older than Faf de Klerk. The reason I've got him at 4, I mean, he started against Portugal. He started the semi-final and quarter-final, but then was dropped for the final. Grant Williams isn't even on this top 10 list, and he could end up being the Springbok 9, depending on how they want to go. I guess France have got amazing depth, and they've got incredible scrum halves, but they've got one that's a clear number 1. Maybe South Africa are suffering from the fact that they don't have a clear number 1 at the minute. So in a way, it's kind of hard to know, well, what do we want? And as a result, I mean, Rassi's been using that to his advantage, and when he wants a certain type of 9, he picks Kobus Reinach, and when he wants a different type of 9, he picks Faf de Klerk. It could be that goes on. As it is, for what it's worth, tell me if you disagree, I've got Kobus Reinach just above Faf de Klerk. I've got Santiago Arata above both of them. And a statement to be made on this guy, this is the best Tier 2 rugby player, if you want to go with that phrase. Outside of the big nations, comfortably the best rugby player on the planet. And I think, were he another nationality of one of the big nations, he'd actually be higher up this list. He'd probably be above the next player. He's so good. Absolutely incredible rugby player. Bearing in mind he plays scrum half behind what is quite often a pack that is under massive pressure, and he always looks in control. He also, at club level in the top 14, I've watched a lot of top 14 rugby this season, and for Cast, he is just different gravy. I would say he's the best defensive 9 in world rugby. No one gets an easy go around the breakdown with him around. He's defensively unbelievable. Attacking, he's incredible. I love Santiago Arata. I can't say enough good things about him. And there was a big part of me that wanted to put him above Jamison Gibson Park, but that I just felt, bearing in mind the big games that Gibson Park's been involved in, Grand Slams, Six Nations winning this season, knockout games at World Cups. Okay, they didn't go the way he wanted it to go, but he's got that pedigree and that experience, and he's been absolutely brilliant. And for the last few years, he's been going toe-to-toe with Aaron Smith and with Antoine Dupont, and been looking really good. So I've kept him at number 2, exactly where he was last time. Behind, of course, Antoine Dupont, a man who, for some strange reason, tends to get people a bit riled up at the minute. I mean, I don't understand that, but I think this guy is legitimately a genius on the rugby pitch. But I thought, do you know what? Just so that to try and stop anyone from getting angry about Antoine Dupont, which for some reason seems to happen at the minute, I thought I'd just I'll get a quote from Aaron Smith. I think we can all agree Aaron Smith knows what he's talking about when it comes to scrum halves. Aaron Smith said, quote, Antoine Dupont, he will be one of the greatest to play our game. He's already probably the greatest of this generation. He has changed rugby. He's not just a halfback. He is pure class. That's the thing, I think, for me with Antoine Dupont. I've been lucky enough to see him play live a bunch of times. He jackals better than most open side flankers. He's as strong as most flankers or props even. He kicks better than most 10s, equally well off both feet. I mean, that 50-22 in the Champions Cup final, I don't know anyone else in the world who could have maybe pulled that off. Maybe Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. Maybe he would be the only one. He's got the speed of a winger. His defence, attack, his vision, he's got absolutely everything. He is unreal. Of the people that I've seen play live, he's given the best performances I've ever seen of any player. And it felt like when I was watching Antoine Dupont in the Champions Cup final, I was there at the Tottenham Stadium at the end of May. When I was watching him in that game, I thought during the match, this feels like that time I saw Lionel Messi. I went to see Lionel Messi in a Champions League semi-final, yeah, against Manchester United at Old Trafford, just up the road. And I saw Messi that night, and it was you could just see greatness. You could see greatness. I get the same when I watch Antoine Dupont. So I'm not saying he's the GOAT, as I did a whole video on that the other day, and it's not worth even going into that discussion. What I will say is he's comfortably, and not even close, he's the best player that I've ever watched in the flesh play live. Just an unreal talent. So clearly number one, by a mile, not even close, but what a great list that is. Some good talking points down the list, isn't it? Got some good younger players coming through, some guys that have still got some years on the clock, but still got a bit of life in them, or could be dropping down the list like a stone. That is one to watch. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe, leave your comments, give the video a thumbs up.